are doing fine and you are doing all the assignments and the exercises I am giving through this teleclass. Let us start today's lesson. So, we are going to continue last class lesson, organization and management. In this lesson, we will discuss the factors that affect the size of the span of control, and we will learn the advantages and disadvantages of wide span of controls as well as narrow span of control. Then at last, we will discuss the benefits and cost of having an organizational chart or a structure. Let us move on the first one, factors that affect the size of the span of control. The first one is the difficulty of task. Before going to these factors, first I would like to ask you, what is span of control? As we have discussed last class, all of you know that span of control is the employees, they have to directly report to their manager. It is the number of employees or number of subordinates who have to directly report to a particular manager. Students, this span of control, it depends the narrow and wide, it depends on the number of subordinates who are working directly under a manager. So, the first one is the difficulty of task. It says that the work that subordinates do involve simple and repetitive tasks, then a wider span of control is needed. It means that if the task is very difficult for the employees and if the employees are semi-skilled or unskilled, they need to control, they need to monitor and they need to supervise. That is why managers has to see what they are doing. So, if the task is very difficult, then managers has to monitor them well. That is why in that case they need narrow span of control. That means for manager it will be easy for them to control few employees. Then the more complex the task subordinates do, the more likely that here, as I have mentioned just now, narrow span of control is needed. Narrow span of control means few employees, wide means it can fit more employees. Span of control is wider means more employees will be under one manager, and narrow span of control means it is less. So, it is few employees working under one manager. Understood? Okay, next one. Next one, the experience and skill of workers. As I have mentioned just now, if employees are very skilled and they have a lot of experience, then they no need to monitor, they do not have to look after that much, they do not have to monitor them or supervise them continuously. Highly skilled and experienced workers may require less control, as they have as managers have trust on them. Managers know that this particular employees, they will do better, they have skills, they will not make any mistakes. So, less control or less monitoring will be there. So, in that case, if there is a less monitoring, or then it is wide span of control. That means under one manager there will be how many? A lot of employees will be there, isn't it? So, it is we called wide span of control. So, the experience and skill of workers are more, it is more wider the span of control. Okay? But experience and skills are less means it is narrow. Next one is the size of the business. Larger businesses are often able to afford to employ more managers than smaller business. That is true, right? So, if the business is large and huge in size, they will have more managers. They have more money, they have more finance to pay them, isn't it? So, those managers, they will have fewer employees, isn't it? So, they can easily control these employees. So, the span of control of individual managers in larger business is often narrower than the managers in smaller business. In smaller businesses, they will have very few levels, few managers, because they do not afford to have that much managers in smaller businesses, isn't it? So, smaller businesses, the span of control will be much wider. Let us see the next one. So, the next one is the level of hierarchy. You know what is the level of hierarchy, isn't it? Hierarchy means it is the levels in the organization, different levels. So, if we say it is a hierarchy, students, you have to imagine that which type of organizational structure they are having. For example, if they are having a flat or it is a tall structure. If it is a tall structure means, as we have discussed before, it is more levels, isn't it? but if the structure is flat means it is few levels. So, managers in tall organizational structure will surely have narrow span of control, and managers in flat organizational structure, that means flat organizational structure we will have less managers and wider span of control. Span of control means they are controlling few in wide span of control. Then the other one is management style. We have studied that, isn't it? Management style, there are different management styles, that is autocratic, democratic and laissez-faire, right? In these management styles, there are managers who want to control their employees, they want to have more power, more authority over their employees. So, in that case, if they want to control their employees, then they will prefer to have narrow span of control. Narrow means fewer employees, right? So, they will, for them it will be easy to control few subordinates. So, here some businesses use a management style that has a greater control over the workforce than the others. In this type of businesses, managers have narrow span of control, as I have mentioned just now, but managers who trust their employees and their management style is more like laissez-faire or democratic style, then they will give more freedom to their employees. So, they are more trusted and it will be easy for the managers to measure the success of their employees by delegating tasks to their employees. Okay. Let us see the advantages and disadvantages of wide span of control. So, advantages first we will go through. Less expensive as few managers or supervisors are needed. Why do you think it is less expensive in wide span of control? As I have mentioned before, wide span of control in smaller businesses, wider span of control means it is few levels, they need to have few managers. So, they do not have to pay them that much, isn't it? That is why few managers means they have to pay them less. Then less supervision improves workers' motivation. So, some workers, they are hesitant to work in front of their managers. So, they are reluctant to do the work. That is why in wider span of control, less supervision improves their motivation. So, they feel that yes, we are belong to the organization, we are trusted, the managers, they feel like we are in colleagues, that is why they have given tasks to us. So, employees feel more motivated, more committed to their organization. Third one is faster communication and decision making. So, when there are few levels, then communication can be easily conveyed to the employees. So, they do not have to across a lot of levels, a lot of hierarchy levels. If the level, there are more levels means the messages might go very slowly. So, few levels means they can easily send the messages and they can take feedback easily. Let us move on to the disadvantages. So, disadvantages here is few managers or supervisors reduce promotional opportunities. As I have mentioned, this wider span of control means few levels, isn't it? So, when there are few levels, it means there is less chance of going up, getting promotion. Then less control over subordinates work. So, wider span of control means they have a lot of or more employees, isn't it? Wider span of control means. So, it will be difficult for managers to control all of these employees, to monitor their work regularly. It will be difficult. It also takes time and consume a lot of time. Effective communication may be difficult as they have a lot of employees, they have to be responsible directly and it will take time to communicate also. Let us see the example of wide span of control. So, this is a case of wide span of control. Here is the CEO, maybe these are the managers. So, under each manager, here are more number of employees here. So, the span of control of this manager is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Span of control is 5. Here also it is same. So, this is we can say that is a smaller organization. Under CEO, these managers, then here are the employees. Then this is also another example of span of control. under managing director, a lot of staffs are here. So, in this case, in span of control is wider. For him, it might be difficult to communicate as he is having a lot of subordinates under him, as he is directly guiding or supervising them. It also takes time to get feedback, as he is having more subordinates he has to control directly. Then here is the disadvantages and advantages of narrow span of control. Now, you have understood and you have cleared the difference between narrow span of control and wide span of control. Understood? So, narrow span of control, the advantage is effective communication is easier. Why do you think effective communication is easier in this case? Why? As I have mentioned before, effective communication in wider span of control, it is difficult as they are having more employees, isn't it? In the narrow span of control, under one manager, few employees are there, maybe 1 or 2 or 3. So, it will be easy for the manager to control and monitor. Okay? Then the second one is better control over workers and their work. Easily monitor, easily can give feedback as the employees are few. Okay? Third one is more managers or supervisors, increase promotional opportunities. Why is that? In wider span of control, it is a disadvantage, right? As they don't have more levels, there is less chance of getting higher. But in this case, narrow span of control, usually larger businesses, they are having more managers, they are having more levels, isn't it? That's why the employees in lower levels, they have a chance in getting promotion and they can reach higher levels. Okay? Disadvantages. Communication and decision making is often slower, but this is totally opposite in wider span of control, isn't it? Communication was easier in that one, but in this narrow span of control, communication and decision making is slow. Why is that? As they are having many levels, isn't it? So, many levels means to send the messages, to get feedback, it will take time, as they have to pass through different levels, maybe from CEO to the manager, manager to the supervisor, again different clerks to the lower levels of employees. So, chain of command is longer, isn't it? The way the instructions or the informations are passing from top level to the lower level is much longer. That is why decision making as well as the communication is slow. Second one is more expensive because more managers are needed. That also we have discussed, isn't it? So, if the organization is larger, they are more affordable to have more managers. So, these larger businesses, they are having more functional departments. Do you know what are functional departments? Yes, those are marketing department, human resource department, financial department, administrative department, a lot of departments are there. So, larger businesses, they have a lot of managers. So, to have these qualified managers, it will be expensive for them, they have to pay them, isn't it? More supervision may reduce workers' motivation. More supervision, as the managers are having few employees, they will continuously monitor them. So, employees feel demotivated, they think yes, managers are not trusting and we are not doing quality work. That is why employees get demotivated as continuous supervision is there. Here is an example of large organization. First I showed you the example of wider span of control, that is in smaller businesses, but this one is in larger businesses, huge business. So, CEO, you can see functional departments here, finance director, human resource director, marketing director, operations management, research and development, you can see the functional department clearly in here. Then each department, and you can see the manager here. For example, human resource director, you can see recruitment manager and training manager, right. So, human resource director, he is having span of control of 2, isn't it. So, span of control is wider or narrower? Yes, it is narrow, isn't it. So, recruitment manager and training manager is the span of control of this human resource director, okay, clear. Then recruitment manager, he is responsible for recruitment administrator, only one person. Training manager also responsible for training administrator. So, we can clearly see that in this diagram, this organizational chart, these managers have very narrow span of control, meaning that few subordinates or few employees are working under a manager. Okay? I hope you all got clear up to this much. Let us see this. You will be familiar with this diagram, because when we were starting the organization and management, we have talked about this Bill Murray. At beginning, he was a sole trader. So, after getting profit, after growing the business, he expanded his business very much. Now, you can see in this organizational structure how much further he has expanded his business. So, you can see the functional departments in this one, right. Operation director means in operation department, financial director in financial department, and so on. So, I won't explain you that IT manager and economic forecasting manager. As you can see in this diagram clearly, those two managers are not below any of the functional department, isn't it. You can see these managers, they IT manager, economic forecasting manager, they are directly giving, we can say, they under chief executive. The chief executive is responsible for these two, IT manager and economic forecasting manager. They are not under the functional departments. Okay. So, in this diagram we can see the line managers. So, those who are functional departments, functional managers, commonly we called, they are line managers. Remember that those managers in functional departments, functional areas, those managers we called line managers. These managers have subordinates or employees under them to work with. Okay? Is that clear? Okay. Then next one is staff managers. Staff managers are those managers who have specialist knowledge in different areas, but they are not working under line managers. As you can see, IT manager and the economic forecasting manager, just they are giving advice or they are giving special advisory to the chief executive. So, those members or those managers we called staff managers. We are going to detail in this diagram. Okay. So, it is still largely arranged into functional department. Just now I have explained you very well. So, financing, marketing, and there are a lot of departments, isn't it. So, let us go to this one. However, business organized in this way may find workers feel more loyalty to their department than to the organization as whole. That means workers in departments, their main target is focus on their department. They will not consider about other departments. So, due to this, what happens is there will be conflicts arising in different departments. For example, operation manager or operation department, the managers might need to buy machinery or equipment to produce goods, but they have to request for finance department to get money, isn't it. So, they have to work, they have to coordinate well in order to get that machinery, but finance department, they are making delay to buy that equipment, or they are not making any necessary money available. So this makes conflicts, isn't it? So managers working in these departments, they have to make sure that all the managers in the organization, they are working towards to achieve the common goal of the organization. Then only the overall business objectives can be achieved. So now you are clear with the line managers, right? Line managers are those managers in functional departments. Okay? They have subordinates under them. Directly they are responsible for these subordinates. Next one. So in addition to functional department, there are also regional division responsible for the Bill's organization. So in this diagram, so I am going to explain this. As Bill has expanded the business, he is selling goods to abroad or foreign markets. That's why he is having another department or another region we called director of French division, meaning that he is selling goods to French, right? France, he is selling goods. He is having a shop, or he is having an organization or a branch of that organization. So maybe the local line managers, they might not have adequate knowledge about France market. That's why he has to have managers who are very skilled and who knows the information about that market. Before we are selling the products to abroad, we have to know the market, we have to know the customers, we have to know the price of the product, and we have to make sure that their buying habits, likes and dislikes, everything we have to know. We have to know their local knowledge, market influences, those things we have to identify, isn't it? That's why Bill has employed this economic forecasting manager in order to know these things. Then again he has another manager, IT manager. These two managers are not under line managers. They are accountable to this chief executive. Understood? Then these two line managers, that economic department, that economic forecasting manager and the IT manager, these two managers, they will discuss and they will give report or they will give information to the CEO of the company as well as the board of directors of the organization plus the line managers. They will guide how they have to do particular things, for example, how they are going to sell and what will be the economic background of that particular country. They will give informations. Okay? So board of directors and line managers get this information, then they will change their objectives if it is necessary. Okay? So then these because of these expertise, these expert knowledge, these skilled managers, the businesses, they can have comparative advantage over other businesses. Okay? Now let us see the benefits of organizational structure. Up to here we have studied about a lot of features of organizational structure, but still we didn't know why we are making an organizational structure, right? Up to here we have studied a lot of features, like, do you know the features? Do you remember the features? Yes, those are span of control, chain of command, what else? Delegation, then hierarchy, right? So these are some of the features of organizational chart. Now we are going to see the benefits of having an organizational chart. The first one is, it shows everybody linked together in the organization. So as this diagram clearly shows, we can see who is responsible for whom, who is accountable to whom. We can see clearly. For example, chief executive and the functional departments, as well as operations director. Under him he is food processing factory manager, and we can see how it is linked. Chain of command, we can see clearly. You know chain of command, right? It is how authorities or how informations are passed from top management to the lower levels of the employees. So we can see that clear. So that's why it says lines of communications are clear. So each employees, they will know that whom he has to responsible for, who that person has to responsible as well as accountable. Okay? Motivating for employees, as they can see where they belong and can plan their career pathway. So, they can see their career, their department, and they can see who are their colleagues. This helps them to motivate in the organization. Employees are aware of communication channels, as we have mentioned just now. Employees know who they are accountable to and accountable for, that also we have discussed just now. It shows the link between different departments, and employees have sense of belonging as they appear in the organizational chart. So, employees, as their name is mentioned in the organizational chart, they feel, yes, I am in this organization, I am in this particular department. So, feels a sense of belonging in the organization, isn't it? Let us see the disadvantages. So, it will lead to poor communication and coordination across functional departments. Just now we discussed about Bill's departments, right? Functional departments, they were having conflicts between operation manager and finance manager, isn't it? Operation manager is asking to buy an equipment, but finance department, they are making delay, or they don't want to make that finance available for them immediately. So, this arise conflicts. Okay? Then there may be lack of understanding across the departments. That happens due to these understandings. They may focus on their own goal and neglect the overall objectives of the business. For example, production department, they also try to produce more good, more output in order, so it will increase sales, isn't it? But the other department, marketing department, they will try to promote the business, they try to advertise their products, making different promotional activities, but they do not coordinate well. So, they are having a particular department objectives rather than having larger business objectives. As the business whole, they have to make all the departments together, they must have a common goals to achieve. So, then only they become more competitive over other businesses. Then the last one here is slow to react in response to globalized decisions. So, in this case we can say like global decisions, we can say environmental issues. Nowadays customers are very aware about the environmental concerns, you know that, right, students? We can say that customers, they will buy products from those who are very environmentally friendly as well as those who are very ethical. That meaning that ethical means those businesses who are doing the right thing as well as those businesses who are very environmentally friendly businesses. So, if it is not happening, means it will reduce their market share, it will lose the customers as well as loyalty to their brand. Okay? So, if the businesses, they want to make sure that they are getting more customer base, then they have to make sure they are immediately acting to these type of globalized decisions. That is all for today's explanation, students. Let us see the lesson summary. So, the first one we were discussing is factors affecting span of control, right? As I have mentioned before, the span of control or the factors that we can say whether it is narrow or wide span of control depending on the number of employees they are having, they are controlling. So, if it is a wider span of control, means more employees are there. If it is a narrow span of control, means few employees. Okay? So, the factors here is management style. If the managers want to control their employees more, means they will have narrow span of control. So, it will be easy for them to control few employees. Okay? Levels of hierarchy. If the hierarchy levels are more, means more managers will be there. More managers means again it is narrow span of control, right? If the level of hierarchy is less, means it is wider span of control, means under one manager lot of subordinates will be there. Then the size of the business. If the size of the business is large and huge, as I have mentioned in this one, it is actually linked together, these two. The size of the business is large and huge, means they have more managers, as I have mentioned. So, if the smaller, means they have wider span of control. Then the experience and skill of workers. If workers are very skilled, they are very experienced, the managers know that yes, I don't have to go and check each and every time what they are doing. So, they will feel reluctant, they will feel hesitate to do their work. So, if they have more skilled and experienced staff, then managers prefer to have wider span of control. Okay? But if the task is very difficult, Okay. If the task is very difficult and it is very complicated, then managers has to know that yes, I have to go and check what they are doing. So, they have to continuously control, monitor and give feedback in this case if the task is very difficult. So, in that case narrow span of control will be better. Then span of control, just now we have finished. This two diagram I have included, just make sure that you can count the number of span of control if you are given a question. For example, the question may ask identify the span of control of this particular manager. So, you have to write that in number. So, in this diagram span of control is 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. If you ask to identify the span of control, just count the number of subordinates and write the number. Okay. It is easy. Let us see the benefits of hierarchical structure. Hierarchical structure and organizational structure, it is same. So, these are the points that we have already discussed. So, no need to again repeat. So, these are the disadvantages and here is your homework. Okay. Students, only one question I have included in this one. So, Coal Breaker is a medium sized company. You can read this mini case and answer this question. It is very easy. Identify and explain 2 possible disadvantages of business having wider span of control. It is easy, we have discussed it, right. So, you can mention the point here, then write a little bit explanation here. So, you have to develop the point you have mentioned here, then you will get full marks. I hope you have understood what we have discussed just now and hope to see you in the next class, and thank you for listening.
Hi everyone. Today we are going to explain or discuss about a topic in physics, that is thermal physics, that is thermal expansion, especially solid